Abhay Kulkarni Prabhu and Rohini Mataji. Both are very familiar to our congregation, does not need any introduction, but for the pleasure of the devotees, I'm talking few words. Abhay Prabhu, one of the senior devotee in our congregation and selflessly serving in the background and big support to our temple. Abhay Prabhu, everybody knows he is a nice kirtanir and called as Gandharva of Austin. And Abhay Prabhu performs kirtan in devotees' houses and glorifies the Lord name. And Prabhu done several kirtans at temple and devotees' houses. And Rohini Mataji doing many services for the temple, such as cooking, cleaning, garland making, and also Mataji conducts Bhagavad Gita classes conducted by temple on Friday. So both Mataji and Prabhu selflessly serves and never take any recognition. And both are symbolizes the humility and surrender to Guru and Krishna nicely. With that, we are welcoming Abhay Prabhu, Abhay Kulkarni Prabhu and Rohini Mataji with loudly chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra one time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Over to you, Abhay Kulkarni Prabhu and Rohini Mataji.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for a kind introduction. Thank you so much. Can you hear us well, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you so much. So we'll start. We'll sing Jai Radha Madhav first. Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana वनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी जय जय यमुना तीर वनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी जय Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 श्री श्री राधा दामोदर की जय। डिवाइन प्रोटेक्टर नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय। भगवत वाणी भगवत गीता की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल। So first of all, we express our gratitude to His Grace Satyasara Prabhu and Jai Subhadra Mataji for giving us this service and opportunity to glorify Lord Varadeva on his appearance day. We personally feel very unqualified, but with your mercy and blessings, we will try to do this service for our own purification. We pray to you and the Vaishnavas to forgive us if we make any mistakes due to our immaturity and lack of understanding and knowledge. Please bless us so that we could properly glorify Lord Varadeva and his divine activities. So we'll recite prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruvai Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Swadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Lagunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahaguna Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataru Vayasya Kripa Sindhu Bhyayevacha Patita Nama Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dashatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we'll share a PowerPoint. मुखं करोति वाचालं मंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपा तमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम्। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. So thank you again. Today we will talk about the pastimes of Lord Varadeva, the boar form. See, the Vedic understanding of God is much more comprehensive than the definitions of God in other religions. Other religions or philosophies may not explain the concept of God completely. We cannot understand God by mental speculation or a boxed in philosophy. The God is the source of all existence. He is the cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita says, Ishvara Paramaha Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. So without him nothing would exist. He is the source of unlimited pleasure. Lord Krishna, who is the Supreme Lord, is the transcendental to this material world. But he manifests in this world in different forms for specific purposes and most importantly to attract us towards him. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.26 says that there is no limit to the incarnations of Supreme Lord, just as there is no limit to the waves of the ocean. Each of the incarnations has a particular function, and the function is always most extraordinary because the common living entities cannot execute it. So Lord Varahadev is a Leela avatar of Lord Krishna. So without any further delay, we will start description of Lord Varadev's pastime. So first we will have a quick overview of the pastime, as there are two different storylines, and so if you can look at the screen, one of the storylines is from the Brahma's creation, and then another one is when the Kumaras visit the Vaikuntha planets. So we'll talk about the both, and then we'll try to understand how Varadeva appears and performs his activities. So it begins when the Lord Brahma started the creation. As everyone knows that Lord Brahma is the first living entity born when a universe is created, and his role is to take charge and take further steps. So he starts to create many things, and then he creates 4 sons from his mind, Manas Putras, for the purpose of populating the creation. Now these sons of Lord Brahma, they undergo several austerities and realized the absolute truth. Now they were empowered incarnations and qualified Brahmanas, so they were attached to the Supreme Lord Vasudeva. They wish that they don't want to be a part of Brahma's plan to populate the creation. They did not want to be family men. They aimed for liberation. They took vows to remain celibate for their lives and remained as Kumaras, about 5 years of age. So these are the 4 Kumaras: Sanaka, Sanatana, Sananda, and Sanat Kumara. Now here someone may say, I understand how my son does not follow my direction, but how do we understand Lord Brahma's son not following his request? Srila Prabhupada explains in the Srimad Bhagavatam purport that one who is Vasudeva Parayana, or seriously engaged in the devotional service of Vasudeva, did not care about any other obligations. So it was not wrong for the Kumaras to not follow Lord Brahma's request. So when the four Kumaras declined Lord Brahma's request, he got angry, but he did not express it. In that process, another child was born from the middle of his eyebrows. He was called Rudra. So why Brahma got angry? Because being absorbed in the mode of passion. He is a representation of mode of passion. In passion agitates one. Of course, Brahma was able to check the anger externally, but the anger in its true colors came out as Rudra. He was a mix of blue and red colors, blue for ignorance and red for the passion. So Brahma gave Rudra 11 names and 11 wives and asked him to increase the population of the world. So Rudra created unlimited sons that resembled him in qualities, but then they started to destroy Brahma's creation. So eventually, to save his own creation, Brahma had to request Rudra to take everyone to the forest and undertake penances and austerities. Further, Brahma created 10 more sons to continue with his initiative to populate the universe. He kept creating different things that would be necessary for the universal population: rules, laws and order, goals, moral codes, etc. But despite of his efforts, he was not able to have sufficient population and he lamented. Finally, he was able to create a male and a female form, and they were called Swayambhu Manu and Shatarupa. Together, they created more progeny, and that pleased Lord Brahma. He asked Swayambhu Manu to rule the material world and keep up the population. Swayambhu Manu found that for some reason the earth was submerged in the Garbhodaka ocean. Garbhodaka ocean is the water that fills half of the universe. Lord Brahma was perplexed to hear that. He was not sure how to retrieve the earth from the depth of the great ocean. As you can see, so far that Brahma was having so many difficulties trying to accomplish his mission. We in this material world think that there are so many problems. We get frustrated and discouraged when we cannot get anything done. So many impediments. But the problem and suffering exist in the topmost planet where Lord Brahma resides also. Some people think that going to higher planets like Svargaloka is the goal of their life. They don't understand that misery can chase one in that place also. And we will hear this further. But Hiranyaksha tormented Lord Indra and the demigods and made them run and hide like snakes. So there is no escape from misery in this entire material world. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna confirmed this in chapter 8, verse 16. A Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna Mamupete tu Kaunteya Punarjanmana Vidyate. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery, wherein repeated birth and death takes place. But one who attains my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So coming back to our pastime, Lord Brahma, knowing no way to retrieve the earth from the vast Garbhodaka ocean, decided to request Supreme Lord for help. So another point to understand here is a devotee of Lord takes shelter of the Lord when he faces difficulties in discharging his service. He is never discouraged. He has full faith in the Lord.
So when Brahma was contemplating on Lord, a small form of boar came out of his nostril. It was the size of upper portion of the thumb. Within moment, the boar grew into the gigantic form. Brahma had never before experienced such a form, and he was struck with wonder. It is very wonderful that he has come from my nose. First of all, this boar was seen no bigger than the tip of a thumb, and within a moment, he was as large as a stone. And Brahma could guess that the wonderful appearance of the boar was an incarnation of Vishnu. The boar rolled tumultuously. That roar echoed in all directions. This Lord Boar flew in the sky, slashed his tail, and he scattered the clouds using his hoofs and glittering white tusks. Everyone was watching this super amazing form of the Lord. The uncommon feature of the Godhead bewildered the mind of Brahma. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu rode tumultuously like a great mountain and confirmed to the Brahma that yes, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we can wonder that how Lord incarnated through Brahma's nostril. The Vedas, they are said to be the breath of the Lord, and that breath was inhaled by Brahma, the original student of the Vedas. And the breathing from the nostril of the Brahma caused the appearance of Lord Boar, and therefore the Boar incarnation of the Lord is also called the personified Vedas. Vedas himself incarnated in the form of Lord Boar. So when great sages heard the tumultuous voice of Lord Boar, the all auspicious sound of the all merciful Lord, they chanted auspicious chants from the Vedas. So the sages, because they were knower of the Vedas, so they could understand that the symptoms of what's the Lord's voice, that he is the supreme personality. So they could understand that this specific sound was vibrated by the Lord and no one else, as they knew the Vedas. And on hearing the sound of the Lord, the inhabitants of the higher planets were all jubilant, because they knew that the Lord was there to deliver the earth. They also joined the sages in praising the Lord with the transcendental hymns. The most important is Brihan Naradiya Purana verse, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One can think that how a boar can be an incarnation of a Lord, as it is considered to be a most abominable animal. Lord can take any form that he likes, and in all circumstances, he is not obliged to follow the material laws and principles. The Lord's form in any shape is always transcendental and full of knowledge and mercy. He is the cause of all causes. In Brahma Samhita, Lord is addressed as Adi Purusham, the original person. Lord is the origin of boar species. As stated in Vedanta Sutra 1.1.2, the absolute truth is the origin of everything. The 8,400,000 species of bodily forms originate from the Lord, who is always Adi, or the beginning. In this situation, Lord assumed the shape of boar to kill demon Hiranyaksha and pick up the earth from Garbhotaka ocean, because the bottom of the Garbhotaka ocean is very muddy and dirty, and usually in material world we can see that boars pick up things from dirty places. So Lord took form of a boar. Thus he became Adi Shukra, the original boar. And in material world, a boar or a pig is considered to be abominable. But Adi Shukra, the supreme personality of Godhead, is not an ordinary boar. Even Lord Brahma and demigod praise this form of Lord as his boar. The supreme personality of Godhead can exhibit his full potency in any shape or form without any change. Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 verse 9 says, Janma karma cha me divyam yo veti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. O Arjuna, so God's activities are all transcendental in nature. Srila Prabhupada, in one of his lectures, gave the example of previous Prime Minister of England, William Gladstone, in relationship to appearance of Lord Varadeva. Srila Prabhupada said that Lord appears in different form for his own pleasure and enjoyment. And Srila Prabhupada explained this by giving the example as once an important visitor came to meet Prime Minister Gladstone, and the secretary had told him to wait as Prime Minister was busy. And about an hour passed and the person was still waiting. And then he became impatient because it was too long. And then he peeked into Prime Minister office to see how long he needs to wait. And to his surprise, he saw that the Prime Minister has become a horse for his and his grandchild was sitting on top of him playing. So Prime Minister became horse. Here Srila Prabhupada explains that in this example, Prime Minister became horse for his own enjoyment, but it did not change his position as a Prime Minister. And in this process, the Prime Minister was also enjoying, and the grandchild was also happy. So he took the form so that he can experience pleasure. Srila Prabhupada said, similarly, the Lord has taken the form of a boar in form of Varadev, but he remains the same. He does not change his position as the supreme personality of Godhead. He came for the enjoyment. So Lord is not has not become the boar by karma, as we see the boars of this material world. They suffer so much because they have taken the form due to laws of this material nature. But Lord's form, even in shape, in a form of a boar, is transcendental, full of knowledge and mercy. And the boar we see in this material world, they live in very unclean, dirty places. But Lord Varadev is the personified Vedic knowledge, and he is destroyer of all material contamination. So all the Vedas worship the transcendental form of the Lord, and this Lord form is not material, but his form is spiritual. And as today in the kids shloka recitation, they were very beautifully mentioning about Vedas, that how most of the people study Veda to gain some like to gain some material pleasure out of it, to go to higher planets. But Vedas also has another part which is Upanishad, and it deals with the bhakti of Lord. It deals with the Bhagwan, and those who want to understand the Lord, and those who want to so they approach Vedas, and they understand Lord's position through Vedas. And in Ishopanishad, the devotees request Lord to remove the bodily effulgence, which is the obstacle to his vision, and reveal his personal form. Thus, the Supreme Lord is the greatest person and possesses unique characteristics. Complete vision is developed only through bhakti. So we can understand this, that the Supreme Lord, he cannot be understood by our limited capacity. So generally people think that Upanishad talks about the impersonal aspect of the Lord, but Sri Ishopanishad, which is a part of Upanishad, clearly suggests that the absolute truth is ultimately the absolute person. And perfect knowledge means knowing Lord in all his features, knowing all his potencies, and knowing how these potencies work by his will. So purpose of Vedas is to know the supreme personality of Godhead and revive our lost relationship with him. So, coming back to our pastime, the Lord was therefore pleased listening to the Vedic chants, and to encourage his pure devotees, Lord rode once more. Offering prayers to the Lord, the devotees described the transcendental feature of Lord Boar. Lord's boar body expanded throughout the sky, beginning from the topmost planet Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. It is stated in Brahma Samhita that Lord's eyes are sun and moon. Therefore, his very glance over the sky was illuminating. Lord is described as Mahidhara, which means sustainer of the earth. So Lord's body was big and hard as the Himalayan mountains, and he could carry the entire earth on support of his white tusks. Lord Boar was personally the supreme personality of Lord Vishnu, and therefore his form was transcendental, though he had a body of a hog. And the assumption of the form of a boar was only his pastime. It is not possible for an earthly hog to assume a gigantic form and that spread throughout the sky. Just like boars do in this material world, Lord began to search earth by smelling. So Lord, we can see from this pastime that Lord can play perfectly part of any living entity, because he is absolute in whatever he does. The gigantic features of the boar were certainly very fearful for all the non-devotees, but to pure devotees he was so pleasing, and when Lord glanced over his devotees, all of them felt transcendental happiness. Lord rode once more and entered the water of the Garbhodakshai ocean to rescue the submerged earth. Even great ocean appeared frightened. Lord Boar divided the middle of the ocean, and two high waves appeared as the arms of ocean, praying to the Lord to protect him. Lord Boar penetrated the water with his hoofs, which were sharp like arrows, and found the limit of the ocean, although it was unlimited. He saw the earth lying on the bottom of the Garbhodaka ocean and personally lifted it on his tusks. Lord, so in this explaining this purport, Srila Prabhupada says that the Lord formed limit of the unlimited ocean. Like Lord can do anything, because Supreme Lord, he cannot be understood by our limited capacity. Sri Ishopanishad therefore warns us about identifying Lord through mental speculation. One has to come to a devotional platform. Only then we can understand Krishna. The famous poet Jaydev Goswami has sung the incident in his prayers for the incarnation in the Sri Dashavatara Stotra. Vasati dashan shikhare dharani tavalagna shashini kalanka kaleva nimagna keshavadrita shukar rupa jai jagadish hare jaya jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadish Hare. Vasati dashana shikare dharani tava lagna, Shashini kalanka kalevani magna, Keshavadrita shukar rupa, Jai Jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Jaya Jagadish Hare, Jaya Varahadev, 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 Jaya Varahadev. It is the beautiful prayer, and the translation is, O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, who have assumed the form of a boar, all glories to you. The earth, which had become immersed in Garbhodaka ocean at the bottom of the universe, sit fixed upon the tip of your tusk, just like a spot upon the moon. So once Srila Prabhupada was asked question, can God make anything so heavy that he himself cannot lift? Then Srila Prabhupada said, yes, he can make that, and then within next moment, he can also lift it easily. So this is the Achintya Shakti of the Lord. It is the inconceivable potency, and for Lord, nothing is impossible. And we can understand this from the example of a banyan tree. Like in this material world, as from a small seed, we can see how a huge banyan tree manifests. So this is just a small example. Then what to talk of the material? So what to talk about the Lord when he does something by coming, like he himself incarnates and does his pastimes.
So we'll now talk about while Brahma was busy with his activities of creation, the Kumaras were roaming around at their free will and with their mystic powers all over the universe. So once they entered the spiritual sky, which had spiritual planets called Vaikuntha planets. These Vaikuntha planets are residents of Supreme Personality of Godhead and his pure devotees. So why they are called Vaikuntha planets? Because they are free of anxiety or kuntha. This material world is full of anxieties, birth, death, old age and disease. So it is called the place of kuntha. Now why there is no anxiety in Vaikuntha? Because in Vaikuntha there is no occupation other than serving the Lord. In this material world there is anxiety because everyone is trying to act for their own sense gratification. Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd canto gives a very beautiful description and amazing activities of the residents of Vaikuntha. It is unfortunate that instead of discussing about amazing things in spiritual world, materialistic people take interest in mundane topics like politics, economy, movies, etc. This human form is very important for acquiring transcendental knowledge and perfection, but generally people do not recognize it. So, the great sages or four Kumaras reached the Vaikuntha planet and they felt very happy and peaceful. It was an amazingly wonderful place. So, it is said that there are 7 gates in the Vaikuntha Puri to get to Lord's residence. The Kumaras were eager to see the Lord. So, just like small innocent children, they entered and passed through the 6 gates and no one stopped them. So as they tried to pass through the 7th gate, they were stopped by the 2 doormen, Jaya and Vijay, who were guarding that gate. They were decorated very nicely with valuable jewelry, diamonds, etc. And they also had 4-headed forms like Lord Narayan. Naturally, like children, the Kumaras, when they were stopped, became upset and sorrowful. They looked like children, but they were very highly exalted personalities. They were sons of Brahma, and even though they looked like small naked children, they were older than even Lord Shiva, and they were knowers of the truth. So they took it as an offense. We should not be forbidden to enter into our beloved Lord's place. Their eyes turned red with anger. Kumaras cursed Jaya and Vijaya that they showed duality of existence in the Vaikuntha life. They are contaminated and do not belong there, and they were fit for the material world. So let's talk about some philosophical points here. Number 1, According to Vedic system, one who is renounced order of life can go anywhere unrestricted, as their business is always about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Kumaras should not have been stopped. Number 2, about Kumara's anger. This is an example of one getting angry when their desires are not fulfilled. In this case, the anger was not due to personal reasons. It was because Kumaras were stopped from seeing their beloved Lord. Both an ordinary person and a Krishna conscious person can show anger, but the anger of a Krishna conscious person is always in connection with Krishna. Number 3, the mentality shown by the two doorkeepers was not exactly like Vaikuntha residents. Vaikuntha creation is perfect. There is no disharmony between the Lord and its residents. So there is no cause of fear and there is no enmity. When we talk about criminals, all living entities that are in material world are more or less criminals, as they do not wish to abide by the order of the Lord. Their activities are not per Lord's will, but there is no such thing in the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada gives an example of a machine which has hundreds and thousands of small and big parts, yet they work in harmony towards the main function of the machine. When we say we are in Maya, that means we are in disharmony with the Lord. There is no Maya in Vaikuntha planet. As soon as one creates disharmony with Krishna, he gets covered in the Maya. So as an application of this understanding, it is very important to have faith in Krishna, to always have Krishna in the center and live in harmony according to the principles of Bhagavad Gita. Purity comes when one harmonizes their desires with the desires of the Supreme Lord. So as Jay and Vijay, who were also devotees in the service of the Lord, realized what just happened, they became very afraid and they fell at the feet of the Kumaras. They realized that they just offended the devotees of the Lord. They showed repentance of their actions and prayed for compassion. They prayed that with the curse of falling back in the material world, may they not forget the Lord. At this time, Lord appeared at that place. He got worried that by chance his devotees have committed an offense against other devotees. Since Lord is equal to all and being specially inclined towards his devotees, he mercifully looked at both offender and the offended devotees. The four Kumaras offered prayers to the Lord. They felt blissful to have darshan of the Lord's personal form. Lord acknowledged the offense of his doormen and spoke with the Kumaras in a pleasing manner. At the same time, he was trying to protect his own servitors. The Kumaras realized that the persons who engage in the service of the Lord cannot be at fault at any stage. They realized that they committed a mistake in cursing the doormen. They mentioned that by accident they cursed two innocent persons and the Lord may punish them if he wishes so. At this time, the Lord clarified that the whole situation was conceived by him. Spiritual authorities explain that it was Lord's desire to fight and knowing there is no one fit to fight with him in the material world, he desired to fight with Jai and Vijay. So the doormen would not fall in the material world permanently. They would be there in the service of the Lord and then they would return back to the Vaikuntha. So few takeaways for us here. Number 1, Lord loves the cows and Brahmanas and does not tolerate offenses against them. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namah. Number 2, devotee's duty is to always be conscious in his dealings with others, especially with other devotees of the Lord. Number 3, devotee is always anxious to render service to the Lord, and so the Lord is anxious to render service back to the devotee. Exalted Vaishnava Saint Narottam Das Thakur says about this, about Vaishnavas, Tomaro Radhaya Sada Govinda Vishrama, Govinda Kohena Mora Vaishnava Pranam. The translation is, O Vaishnavas, your heart is always the resting place of Lord Govinda. And Lord Govinda says, Vaishnavas are in my heart. Number 4, even if one is born in a lower family, as soon as he takes to the Krishna consciousness, he is immediately purified and must be respected. And finally, in general, when dealing with devotees, we should not try to find faults. We may commit some mistake, but because he is engaged in the service of the Lord, that wrong should not be taken very seriously. So after Kumaras departed the Vaikuntha, Lord mentioned to Jaya and Vijay that they would nullify the curse of Brahmanas by always thinking of him in the secondary ras of anger. What does this mean? There are 12 rasas of Bhakti Yoga, five primary that are direct Bhakti Yoga: neutrality, servitude, fraternity, paternity, and conjugal love, and 7 secondary that are indirect Bhakti Yoga: laughter, compassion, anger, chivalry, dread, astonishment, and ghastliness. So, even if one performs Bhakti Yoga in one of the 7 secondary rasas, it still qualifies if it is done in the service of the Lord.
So the cursed doorkeepers Jay and Vijay, they fell down in material world and they took 3 births as enemy of the Lord. In Satyuga, they appeared as Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha and fought with the Lord. In Treta Yuga, they appeared as Ravana and Kumbhakarna and were killed by Lord Ramachandra. And in Dwapar Yuga, they became Shishupal and Dantavakra and fought with the Lord Krishna and were killed by the Lord. So when demons are defeated by the Lord, they give up the body of Asura and attain Brahman liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam says, whether one loves or hates Lord, when they concentrate on Lord, they get benefited. This was very nicely explained by His Grace Satyasara Prabhu in one of the classes. The hatred becomes beneficial if we think of the Lord, we go to the Lord. But not all demons killed by different form of Lord gets liberated. Only those who hate the Lord with great concentration get liberated, because when they concentrate on Lord, they are attracted by the astonishing features of the Lord Krishna. They cannot stop thinking about Krishna because his features are so attractive, and they concentrate on him more and more. And when they concentrate, Lord purifies them. That's why when Krishna kills them, they get liberation. But devotees, they do not even aspire for liberation. They get something higher because they have devotion. Their intensity of concentration on Lord is different. They only aspire to serve the Lord. To them, service of the Lord is more joyful than liberation, and they serve in favorable. They are serving in favorable mood to the Lord, so they get spiritual world. So when they get to the spiritual world, their relationship with Lord is filled with more rasas and more bliss. Even though demon may also get spiritual body, but they will have a weak position in the spiritual world.
So the 2 doorkeepers entered into the womb of deity through Kashyapa Muni. This is the birth of Hiranyaksha and his brother Hiranyakashipu, the 2 great asuras. They were so powerful that even the demigods could not control them. Well, since the Supreme Lord sent them with a purpose to fight with them, only he would be able to subdue them. The twin brothers were born after 100 years of pregnancy. Their birth caused many inauspicious events in the 3 planetary systems. There was a universal chaos: earthquakes, fires, high waves in the ocean, crying jackals, cows yielding blood instead of milk, etc. Demigods and other authorities of the universe became very anxious about some upcoming calamity. See, just like we had this ice storm last week, the experts studied the weather pattern and informed everyone. Similarly, the universal authorities were able to read the signs and understand that there is something really bad on the way. So these 2 brothers were gigantic with steel-like body. They were always very angry with the Supreme Lord. Hiranyakashipu, the elder brother of Hiranyaksha, and Hiranyaksha assisted his brother to terrorize the entire universe. Hiranyaksha had uncontrollable anger. The 2 brothers did not fear anyone, including demigods, having a boon that no living entity being in this universe can kill them. Demigods would fear them and hide like a snake hides from the fear of Garuda. Hiranyaksha claimed the heavenly kingdom and then he dived into the Garbhodaka ocean. All the animals on the ocean The big and small, they ran away due to fear. In the ocean, he reached to Varuna's place. Varuna is the predominating deity of the waters. Hiranyaksha made fun of him and challenged him for a fight. So there is one point here to understand that these demoniac people, they are so intoxicated with power that they want to wage a fight with anyone. You know, sometimes these gunda type or strong built people will walk on the sidewalk and they would purposefully dash with other people, and they will see if someone argues or challenges them, and if someone does complain, they would try to use the opportunity to beat them, and occasionally they would not mind if someone beats them. They just want to have a fight anyway. So Varuna cleverly avoided the fight by pursuing Hiranyaksha to have a fight with Lord Vishnu. He would be a worthy opponent for you. Hiranyaksha found Narad Muni on the way, and Narad Muni gave him exact coordinates of the whereabouts of the Lord. So he followed the direction and went deeper into the ocean. And there he saw that the Supreme Lord in his Varaha or boar form. He had earth on his tusk and he was on his way to put it back in its place. The demon immediately challenged, "This earth belongs to us. You cannot take it in my presence." You know, these demoniac people, they like to claim that everything is their property. They don't have a concept that everything belongs to the Lord. They do everything opposite to the Ishavashyam principles. Devotee always consider everything as Lord's property and use everything they have in his service. Another point here is foolish men do not understand the Lord in his transcendental nature. This is from Bhagavad Gita chapter 9 text 11. Avajananti mam mudha. They do not know that he is the supreme controller and the master of the material energy which is controlling us in this material world. That is why reading Srila Prabhupada's book is important. That is why it is important to be in devotees association. In bad association, there is no progress and one further drags down in the world of the darkness. And the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead always remains hidden. Anyway, so Hiranyaksha said, "You killed many demons by becoming invisible by your mystic powers. Now I will take their revenge by killing you." Lord was pained by the abusive words, but he was aware that the earth on his tusk was frightened by seeing this whole thing. So Lord Varaha rose out of the water. Hiranyaksha chased him and called him insulting words that he is trying to run away. The Lord put the earth floating on the surface of the water. The demon chased him and kept calling insults. And at this time, Lord Varaha said, "O demon, deaths await for you." It made Hiranyaksha angrier and the fight started. They both were striking each other with huge maces. Both sustained injuries. Their fight was like fight of two bulls over a cow. Lord Brahma and the demigods were watching the fierce fight. Lord Brahma prayed the Supreme Lord in the Varaha form that this demon has created a constant problem for the inhabitants of this universe. He has been destroying and destabilizing the order of the universe. Please kill him before the night approaches, as demons tend to become more powerful at that time. Lord smiled and accepted the prayer. He took aim of demon's chin with his mace, but the demon attacked and Lord's mace fell down. Everyone in the audience had a scare. Hiranyaksha followed the rule and did not attack the Lord. At this time, Lord Varahadev invoked the Sudarshan Chakra. The demon took charge at the Lord Varahadev and Lord destroyed his weapons using the Sudarshan Chakra. At this time, it became dark and the demoniac forces were coming into effect. Demoniac army was starting to charge. Lord Varahadev decided to finish the play. The Lord gave a mighty slap to Hiranyaksha just below his ears, and it was the final blow of the fight. The demon fell down and died. The Lord assumed a bluish complexion, that of a tamala tree. Lord Brahma, the demigods and the saints immediately understood him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They were so delighted by the personal darshan of the Lord in this amazing form, as well as by the killing of the Hiranyaksha demon. They offered prayers to the Lord Varadeva.
So sages started glorifying the Lord. Sages glorified Lord Varadev's different various body parts which represent yajna. The incarnation of the Supreme Lord is Yagneshwara. This boar incarnation is in this yajna form Lord came. So unless one respects the incarnation of Lord, one cannot perform sacrifice because he himself is yajna. So entire yajna process all comes from Lord Varadev's body. Lord's body is a form of a sacrifice. But Srila Prabhupada explained in this purport that souls who are simply miscreants, they are unable to see it. Lord boar's skin, his eyes, his bodily hair holes are all described as different part of the Vedas. And Lord, he is the personified form of the Vedic hymns, especially the Gayatri mantra. Lord Varadev's hair are kusha grass. So when after Lord rescued the earth, when he was drying himself up, so just like boar we see in this material world, they shake, and in that process Lord's hair fell down on the grass and they grew as a kusha grass, which is used in yajna. Lord's eyes are clarified butter that is used in yajna. The ladle which is used in yajna are from nostrils of the Lord. Lord's belly is the eating plate of sacrifice, and four legs of Lord are four kinds of fruitive activities. So Srila Prabhupada explains in this purport that how, according to miscreants, especially the Vedvadis who cannot see this form of sacrifice, they could be strict follower of the Vedas. But according to them, the Vedas are the origin of everything, and Lord Varaha is only personified version of the Vedas. They do not believe in the incarnation of Lord. Then what to speak of Lord's incarnation as worshipable hog? They don't come, even though they study Vedas, but they don't come to conclusion of the truth that it is said in the scriptures, but they settle for the lower things in the scriptures, and in that process they also misguide others. But the essence of the Vedas is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. The Vedas are not the origin of Lord. Lord is origin of everything, and Vedas came from him. But proper conclusion of Vedas is that the Supreme Lord is a person. If we read them carefully, Vedas talk about that. And if we talk about that Lord is a person, then devotional service is a default. We have to serve Lord, and then we can understand the Sambandha Gyan and what is our duty and act accordingly. But if we don't have proper guidance of Acharya, then we will see everything as impersonal. And without bhakti, one cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this age of Kali, there is no facility for performing sacrifices. Taking shelter of Lord and rendering service to Him is actual performance of sacrifices. 11th canto, it is in 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explicitly stated that one should perform Sankirtan Yajna to please the Lord. So Lord Varadev in this Kali Yuga came in form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which established Sankirtan Yajna. Bhagavad Gita 10.10 says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So thus sages glorify Lord's beauty, saying that how peak of great mountains become beautiful when they are decorated with clouds. Similarly, Lord's transcendental body has become more beautiful because of his lifting the earth on edge of tusks. Similarly, Lord has no need to sustain the earth on his tusk, but when he does, the world becomes beautiful, just as the Lord becomes more beautiful because of his pure devotees on the earth. So they are describing it so beautifully that Lord is looking very beautiful because he had sustained earth on his tusk, and earth is looking even more beautiful because the earth has its pure devotees. That's why Lord becomes more beautiful. So that is very beautifully described. It is by the potency of the Lord that the gravity is working. The so-called law of gravitation which sustained the planets is described as potency of the Lord. The earth was placed by the water by his inconceivable potency. So Lord, when rescued the earth from Garbhodaka ocean, he invested his own potency in the earth, due to which the earth was floating. So we can see that the Lord is all powerful, and therefore he can sustain the huge planets either on water or in the air as he likes. But tiny human brains cannot conceive how this potency of Lord act. Yet philosophers try to give some imaginary explanation because of their limitation. But a person who is learned in Krishna consciousness knows that behind cosmic manifestation is the hand of Krishna. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.10. And since Krishna can direct the cosmic manifestation, it is not at all wonderful for him to assume such gigantic form of boar and deliver the earth. A devotee, he is not astonished to see the wonderful boar, because he knows that the Lord is able to act far more wonderfully by his potencies, which are inconceivable to the brain of even the most erudite scientists. Ordinarily, the body of a hog is considered impure, but one should not consider that the hog incarnation assumed by the Lord is so impure, sages say. And they say that though the residents of higher planetary system are pious, and but even though they are situated in the higher planetary system, but it is still in the material world, and there are still material impurities there also. So when Lord came out of the ocean after rescuing Mother Earth, and to dry himself wriggled, then some drops of water from the tips of Lord's shoulder hairs were sprinkled upon the bodies of the inhabitants of the higher planets, and they felt purified. So just like we consider Ganges water is pure because it is emanating from the toe, and there is no difference between the water emanating from the toe and that from the tip of the hair on the shoulder of the Lord bore. They all are both absolute and transcendental. Sages then glorify Lord, saying that there is no limit to your wonderful activities. The sages pray that both the worlds, they are bewildered by your different energies. Those who are in spiritual world, they are absorbed in your loving service, and they forget themselves, and they are so absorbed in their service that in that process they forget you also, O Lord, because they are deriving great pleasure in doing the service. But at the same time, those who are in the material world, they are also absorbed in material sense gratification, therefore they also forget you. So no one can know you because you are unlimited. Then the sages say that all we can do is we can surrender to you, and know you through your inconceivable potencies. That's how we can receive your causeless mercy. Sages then ask for Lord's blessing so they can worship him with transcendental devotional service. In this manner, the personality of Godhead Lord Vishnu raised earth from within the water and placed it afloat on the water, and he returned to his own abode. And now we can see the merciful nature of the Lord in this pastime, that we all like to hear some wonderful narrations, but many stories are neither auspicious nor they are worth hearing because of their inferior quality or material nature. But out of his causeless mercy, Lord came on earth in his various incarnations. Lord appears, acts, and leaves behind his merciful activities and narrative history, so devotees can derive transcendental benefit. And since personality of Godhead is absolute, there is no difference between his pastime and his personality. The narration of the personality of activities of Godhead is like the constant flow of nectar. The devotional service to the Lord, which is the highest goal, simply begins by hearing about the narration of the transcendental activities. So if one hears and describes in devotional mood, in devotional attitude, this auspicious narration of Lord Bore, which is certainly worthy of description, the Lord, who is within the heart of everyone, is very pleased, and nothing remains unachieved when Lord himself is pleased with someone. Srimad Bhagavatam also says that if anyone who hears, chants, or takes pleasure in this wonderful narration of killing of the Hiranyaksha demon by the Lord, who appeared as the first boar in order to deliver the world, is at once relieved of the results of sinful activities, even the killing of a Brahmana, and one who listens to it during the last moment is transferred to the abode of the Lord. And this statement that that after Lord performed his pastime, Lord returned to his own abode, indicates that the Lord has his particular transcendental residence. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha duskritam. In this verse, Lord appears as he is from his transcendental abode for the sake of killing the miscreants and saving the devotees. So here, by killing demon Hiranyaksha, he fulfilled his promise to kill demons, and he protected the demigods headed by Brahma. And since a Lord is full of energy, he is all pervasive in spite of his residing in Goloka Vrindavan. Just like a sun, although situated in a particular place within the universe, but it is present by its sunshine throughout the universe. So, although similarly, Lord has a particular abode, but he is all pervasive. But the impersonalists can only accept one aspect of the Lord's feature, the all pervasive aspect, but they are not able to understand his localized situation in his transcendental abode where he is doing his activities. So he's all Lord descends from his abode to this world, and therefore he is called avatar, which means that when one descends, sometimes then he is avatar. Sometimes avatar is understood as the incarnation who assumes a material form of a flesh and bone, but actually avatar refers to one who descends from higher region.
So, on this auspicious day, what do we pray to Lord Varadeva? See, in this material world, we are conditioned by contaminated consciousness, which is like the mud of the Garbhodaka ocean. Our soul is like the earth, which is stuck in this dirty consciousness, and the material body, which is just a bag of chemicals. So we pray to Lord Varahadev to be merciful and pull us out of this contaminated condition and help us re-establish into our original constitutional position in the service of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna, just like he helped re-establish the earth. In the Varaha Purana, Lord Varahadev makes a promise. It says, Yadi vatadi doshena mad bhakto mam na cha smaret aham smarami mad bhakta nayami paramam gati. If my devotee is unable to remember me at the time of death because of disturbances felt within the body at that time, then I shall remember my devotee and take him back to the supreme abode. So see how merciful Lord is. In Bhagavad Gita 8.5, Lord Krishna says, at the time of the death, whoever quits the body remembering me alone, without any doubt, he attains my abode. So even if one cannot do it after following devotional service in their life, Lord Krishna remembers and takes care of it. So we should not be shy endeavoring the devotional service. So in this present time, when we worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we also worship Lord Varahadev. One may ask how. So according to Chaitanya Bhagavat, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by his birth made this whole world peaceful. He protected it and he also maintained it. That is why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as Vishwambara. Vishwambara means all sustaining or all bearing. He inaugurated this Sankirtana movement on this planet, that is protecting the fallen people. This is similar to Lord Varahadev, who maintained and protected the fallen earth. There is also an interesting pastime from Chaitanya Bhagavat Madhya Kanda. One day, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard a verse glorifying Lord Varaha, he roared loudly and went to Murari Gupta's house. In Gaura Lila, Murari Gupta's spiritual identity is Hanuman, and Lord Gauranga had a special love for him. Lord called out, Shukara, Shukara, or Bore, Bore. He went to the altar room and he picked a water pot with his teeth, and then he exhibited the Varaha form. He asked Murari Gupta to offer him prayers. Seeing this unprecedented sight, Murari Gupta was stunned and he could not speak. Lord said, do not be afraid. All this time you did not know who I am. I am the fountainhead of all Vishnu incarnations. Very interesting pastime. See, there is absolutely no difference between Lord Gauranga and Lord Krishna. And finally, in this Kali Yuga, when we chant the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We are actually worshipping all the forms of the Lord, including Lord Varadeva, and we just heard it from the pastime. So with this, we will wrap up the description of Lord Varadeva's pastime. As you all know, this is a special week with many festive days. Tomorrow we have Nityananda Trayodashi, a very auspicious day. So also later in this week we have appearance day of Srila Narottam Das Thakur. So now we will glorify him briefly and sing one of his bhajans. So Srila Narottam Das Thakur was a very exalted Vaishnava Acharya in the line of Gaudiya Vaishnava's disciplic succession. And he was fortunate to receive the property of Krishna Prema directly from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya predicted the arrival of Narottam Das Thakur to carry forward his Sankirtana movement. Narottam Das Thakur always lamented the separation of Vaishnavas. He had thousands of disciples and he wrote a very devotional and sweet songs. He arranged the first Gaura Purnima festival in the honor of the divine appearance of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we'll sing this song. This song is called Gaurangera Duti Pada. What that means is Gaurangera Duti Pada. Duti means two lotus feet. So Gauranga's two lotus feet. So let's first read the translation of this song. Anyone who has accepted the two lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya can understand the true essence of devotional service. If one is captivated by the pleasing pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, the dirty things in his heart will become cleansed. One who simply takes the holy name of Gaura Sundara, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, will immediately develop love of God. To such a person I say, bravo, very nice, excellent. If one appreciates the merciful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya and feels ecstasy and sometimes cries, this process will immediately help him to understand the eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna. Simply by understanding that the associates of Lord Gauranga are eternally free from material contamination, one can immediately be promoted to the transcendental abode of Lord Krishna. If one simply understands that the land of Navadvipa is not different from Vrindavana, then he actually lives in Vrindavana. And finally, Lord Narottam Das Thakur says, if one says, let me dive deep into the waves of nectarian ocean of the transcendental loving movement introduced by Lord Chaitanya, he immediately becomes one of the confidential devotees of Radha and Krishna. It does not matter whether one is a householder living at home or a vanaprastha or a sannyasi living in the forest. If he chants O Gauranga and becomes a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, then Narottam Das begs to have his association. So a very nice song. So let's sing this song. So I'll go to the first line. Gaurangera Duti Pada Jaradhana Sampada Gaurangera Duti
Pada Jaradhana Sampada
Se jane bhakti rasa sa Se jane bhakti रससा
से जाने भगति रससा
गौरंगी रामधुलीला जार करणे प्रवेशिला
गौरंगी रामधुलीला जार कर्ण प्रवेशिला
गौरांगे रामधुलीला जार करणे प्रवेशिला गौरांगे रामधुलीला
जार कर्ण प्रवेशिला
हृदय निर्मल बेलो
हृदय निर्मल बेलोता
हृदय निर्मल बेलोता
हृदय निर्मल बेलोता
जय गौरांगेर नाम लोए तार होए प्रेमोदोए जय गौरांग
गौरांगे नाम लोहे तार होय प्रेमोदये
तारे मोई जाए बोले हारी
तारे मोई जाए बोले हारी
तारे मोई जाए बलिहारी
तारे मोई जाए बिहारी
गौरांग गुणे तेजुरे नित्य लीला तारे स्फुरे
गौरांग गुणी तेजुरे नित्य लीला तारे स्फुरे
गौरांग गुणे तेजुरे नित्य लीला तारे स्फुरे
गौरांग गुणी तेजुरे नित्य लीला तारे स्फुरे
से जान भक्ति अधिकारी
से जान भगति अधिकारी
से जान भक्ति अधिकारी
से जान भगति अधिकारी
गौरांगेरा संगी गणे नित्य सिद्ध पुरी माने गौरांगेरा
संगी गाणे नित्य सिद्ध पुरी माने
से जाए ब्रजेंद्र सुत
से जाए ब्रजेंद्र सुत
से जाए ब्रजेंद्र सुतपा
से जाए ब्रजेंद्र सुत
श्री गौड़ मंडल भूमि जे जाने चिंतामणि
श्री गौड़ मंडल भूमि जेवा जाने चिंतामणि
श्री गौड़ मंडल भूमि जे जाने चिंतामणि
श्री गौड़ मंडल भूमि जेवा जाने चिंतामणि
तार होए ब्रज भूमि
होय ब्रज भूमि वास
तार होए ब्रज भूमि
तारा होय ब्रज भूमि वास
गौर प्रेम रसानवे से तरंगे जेवा डूबे गौर प्रेम रसानवे
सीतारंगे जेवा डूबे
Shri Radha Madhava Antaranga. Shri Radha Madhava Antaranga. Grahe pavane ke thake, ha Gauranga bole dake. Grahe pavane te thake, ha Gauranga bole dake. Narottama mange tara sangha. Narottama mange tara sangha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Premanande, Hari Bol. Srila Narottam Das Thakur ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, with this, we'll wrap up today's session. Thank you again for giving us this service and opportunity. Please forgive us if we made any mistakes or committed any offenses. Lord Varadeva ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
I'd also like to thank His Grace Satyasara Prabhu, Her Grace Jai Subhadra Mataji, Her Grace Guruvani Mataji, His Grace Abhay Prabhu for their guidance and encouraging us. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Abhay Prabhu, would you like to take some questions, Prabhuji?
Sure, Prabhu. We'll try and please help us if we are not able to satisfactorily answer the questions. Thank you.
Prabhu. Satyarupa Prabhu will facilitate Q&A.
Sure, Prabhu. Devotees, please ask if you have any questions or comments or any reflections on Abhay Prabhu's Roni Mataji's class. Yeah, Pushpanjali Mataji raised her hand. Mataji, you can unmute and ask, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Abhay Prabhu, Rohini Mataji, for the very beautiful class. I was wondering about this pastime, and I don't know if I heard it correctly. So it's the same Varadev who, at the same time, both the pastimes happen. When Varadev, he in the beginning of the creation, when he comes from Brahmaji's nostril, he takes out the earth. Then does Hiranyakashipu put the earth back into the Garbhodak ocean and it's the same time, or there is like 2 times that these pastimes happen? Thank you, Prabhu.
Sure,
Mataji.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mataji. So there are, yes, so I think Srimad Bhagavatam has, so the 2 pastimes, there are 2 different pastimes. In the first one, Lord Varadeva comes and he just lifts the earth from the Garbhodaka ocean. But Srimad Bhagavatam also describes a pastime from another time when Lord Varadeva lifts up the earth from the Garbhodaka ocean, as well as he kills the Hiranyaksha demon.
Okay, so thank you for confirming that, like happening at 2 different time frames
That
and
is
2
correct.
times.
That
Thank
is
you,
correct.
Prabhu. Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Prabhu,
Thank
can
you very
you,
much.
Prabhu, can
Yeah.
you hold off? Someone else raised a hand.
Okay, okay.
You can go next, Prabhu. Ram Prabhu or Rekha Mataji?
Let Harinamam Prabhu, will let him go, Prabhu, because mine is comments. So, thank you.
Okay, Mataji. Harinamamrita Prabhu, you can go now.
Okay, mine is also comment. And I just wanted to say it was a very beautiful presentation glorifying Varadeva on his appearance day. So it was very beautifully presented. And thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Abhay Kulkarni Prabhu and Rohini Mataji. Amazing Kirtan. You made us like to connect Varahadev, and the Varaha prayers are also amazing. I wish I would want to listen one more time before the class ends, at the question and answers ends. Thank you so much for your class. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Mataji. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Radha Damodar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Abhay Prabhu and Rohini Mataji. Wonderful treat for us. Basically, you have gone through the whole pastime of Varadev. Amazing, and reminded us how the significance of each incarnation of the Lord. Thank you very much, and also very much appreciating that the song you have sung about Narottam Das Thakur. Hari Bol.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Sridevi Kanan Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji and Mataji, beautiful presentation. Thank you so much for enlightening us. And Kirtan was so beautiful. Thank you, Prabhuji and Mataji.
Same, Prabhuji. Very nice class, Prabhuji and Mataji. Such a nice class as always. I look forward to hear more from you, Prabhuji and Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Mataji. And I would also like to acknowledge, thank you, Kannan Prabhu, for the Bhagavad Sangha Vedas class that you have given. It was very helpful for understanding Vedas while preparing for this class. So thank you for the beautiful class. Thank you. Jai Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Any other questions or comments?
Abhay Prabhu, Rohini Mataji, very nice class. Thank you for very nicely connecting the day to the pastime and helping us connect that with Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Okay, Navaneet. Name Navaneet.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Jai Varadev. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Any other comments or questions? Looks like that's all, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu. When I heard like you are going to present on Varahadev class, so we know the pastime, and but you have explained in 1 hour briefly connecting back to Bhagavad Gita verses, and thank you for nicely presenting and make us understanding that whole pastime with the right mood. Thank you, Prabhu, and nice Kirtan also at the end. Always you introduce a new bhajan. It's very nice to hear. Thank you, Prabhu. With that, we are moving on to next part of our program is Narsimha Arti, going to sing by Amrita Mataji, Amit Prabhu and Ahana. Over to you, Mataji, Prabhu.
भगवान की जय, प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय.
Thank you, Amit Prabhu, for nicely supporting. Thank you, Mataji, for leading that Narsimha Arati. Thank you, Ahana. So next, Satyasara Prabhu will do